Hi you guys. Okay, so today I am going to do a quick demonstration. Hi you guys. Okay, I think I'm live now. I think I was live before, but I wasn't sure. So I apologize for that. I'm going to give a quick demonstration to my students because I teach drawing. And I really love to layer in my drawings, and I find that combining a number of different processes can make for some really interesting drawings. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I use in my work. And so when you're thinking of layering, you want the layers to cross over each other. So what I tend to start with is I will make photocopies of images that I like. Now, where do I get these images? I get them from books like this. Excuse me. This is the cover of the book, like this. Okay, this is a book of copyright-free illustrations of mammals. My book is falling apart. This is only part of the book. Grabbed the front of it, but this is an assortment of different animals, and they're all copyright free, so you're free to use them without having to find the licensing information. There's no problem with using them however you see fit. So there are many books like this. Here's another one. It's called 1300 Real and Fanciful Animals. And so sometimes I'll find an animal in here. If I'm using animals, I also have one with flowers and plants and different things. And keep in mind that these are the underlayers. So there's going to be crossover when I use this process, and that's part of what I enjoy about the process, is the layering. And the idea that you're appropriating images and you're wanting to juxtapose things that come from different contexts. So it's important to communicate an idea sometimes when you're appropriating, to understand where it's come from and to understand how you're using it and how you're using it in a different way so that you can communicate some different kind of meaning. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to keep track of what's being done here. So this is a photocopy, and the photocopy is made from toner that is fused to the paper from the copy machine. This is not the same as a print that I would make from my inkjet printer at home. An inkjet is not a toner-based copying process. So paper. So sometimes to do, it can be, anyway, so in this work, it can be helpful to find a way to release the toner from the paper. And there are several ways to do that. One of the cheapest and easiest ways to do that is to use one of these. This is called a Chart Pack Clear blending marker. Okay. It's made by Chart Pack. There are other blenders, such as the Prismacolor blending marker, but it doesn't have the correct, doesn't have the right chemical in it to release the toner. Another solvent you can use is lacquer thinner, but lacquer thinner requires protections. You need to, in whatever kind of solvent you're using to release the toner, you do need to be in a well-ventilated space, and to be safe with it. You don't want to, excuse me, put it in your eye or anything like that. So be safe with these markers. Okay, so the way you do the photocopy transfer, let's see, is you decide where you want it to be, and keep in mind the image will be reversed. Okay, so I like this wolf head. You know what, I want the wolf head to be underneath, so I'm going to put it near the bottom, and I want it to be kind of facing that way. Maybe facing straight up, I'm not sure. Maybe about right here. And so this is a very simple process. What you do is you'll take something that is smooth and that you can use to provide pressure. Okay, so I have this wooden drawer pull that I got at the hardware store. You can see it's just a wooden drawer pull. and I'm going to transfer. And it can be helpful to tape the paper down if it's a large, this is quite a large area to transfer. So, so you can tape it down, but it's helpful not to, the tape can sometimes tear off a layer of this paper. You got to be careful with that. This paper is Reeves Tan, and it's a printmaking paper, and it's perfect for this kind of thing. Please also keep in mind that when you're doing the transfer, I can't have the tape covering up the area where I'm wanting the transfer to happen, which it's doing. Oh, I'm just going to take the tape off. Sorry. Excuse me. Because you need to be able to have the paper be completely soaked with this marker. So the marker itself tends to evaporate quickly, so I do it a section at a time, and I usually try to get the top back on there too. So I'm applying quite a bit of pressure. When I do this, honestly, I'm usually standing, but that is not going to work for me in my setup right here, so I'm not going to stand. But you know, you have to hold the paper still and in place. You don't want it slipping or moving. And then what you can do is you can still hold it and check to see if it's transferred, and see it did. So I'm going to continue. So again, I'm going to wet the area that has the toner. I can see it through the back, and it's that lovely furry area. These pens are, so you, again, you want to, I'm not touching where the marker is in the paper, and I am trying to rub the back with quite a lot of pressure, and I'm trying to be methodical. That means very carefully just going over every bit once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then I check. That looks good. Now, the reason I keep putting the top back on is because these pens are really notorious for evaporating themselves, evaporating the solvent out of them, and I want to make it last as long as possible. Oh, there's the rest of his ear. I was wondering where the rest of that ear was. And now I'm to the bottom, and look, my pen is almost, I've used it a lot today because I was actually demonstrating for class earlier. When I store it, I want to store it with the tip side down, and I will put it in a coffee mug or something and store it that way, because that way the any extra solvent will run down towards the tip. And I want to make it last as long as possible because they're about $3.50 a pen, or $3.80. Okay, so you can see I got a beautiful transfer there. And this, so this is no longer any good. I'm going to throw it away. But so this process lends itself to imagery that is high contrast. It works the best with high contrast, you know, it doesn't work as well with photographic imagery, although it can work. It's just, it transfers in a kind of gray, grainy way. And when the imagery is high contrast, it's pretty even. But this is my underlayer, and so I can paint with watercolor ink, any water-based material. I can paint over the top, and this will stay. It won't disappear. It's not going to loosen or change or anything because it's a chemical process, and I've, you know, use an absorbent surface like paper. I could also use plywood to make a transfer, which I'll show you also. So let's say I have a piece of plywood here and I want to do a simple transfer. You know, I've got this image of this woman with this man's hands behind her with his hands across her face, and this is from a medical book of copyright-free images. Okay, so isn't that so funny? I have all of these things. Okay, so I'm going to put her over to one side, and I'll just show you how simply this is a real simple line image. So I think it should transfer. I think it'll transfer into the wood. I've done it before, but sometimes, you know, it's strange. Sometimes the copy might not be the best copy in the world to transfer. Sometimes it's the toner, if the machine's running out of toner and you don't have enough toner or whatever. I hope that worked. I'm going to move down here and get the rest of her dress. But you really have to apply a lot of pressure, and like I said, ordinarily I would be standing to do this. It's kind of hard to do this at this angle. It feels very awkward to me. But see, there you go. So that's a pretty beautiful transfer. And oh, I didn't get the side of his arm there, but you know, the other thing about this is that you can, if I want to draw his arm back, you know, I kind of wish I had a marker that was not this is a water-based marker, so you know, it's not, you know, but I can continue the drawing if I want to. You know, I could continue down here with her arm, you know, coming out to the side if I wanted to. I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but I can, you know, that's what makes it so interesting. You can go back in, and these are meant to be the under layers that you are going to draw back into. I always fold, whenever I do the transfers, I fold them up to throw them away so I remember that I did the transfers, because once they evaporate, the solvent evaporates out of them, I won't be able to tell the difference so well. And let's see, I kind of want to add something else to this wood one. I'm thinking that I really love this wolf because it's a little scary, but it's going to be going this way. So I think I'm going to do half of the wolf. So when I have a whole bunch on a page, you know, I just tear it out to make it a little easier. Because there's a wolf on the other one. So let's say I do half the wolf here, and I'll do the other half of the wolf on the other side. Like I said, this is a really awkward angle for me right now. Sorry. But it's like you really have to press every single little bit of it. And like I said, you know, I would suggest for you guys, if you're working at home, I would do this outdoors. I have a window opened. I have 2 windows open and getting a cross breeze in here, so I feel fine. And I have a fan, so you really do need a ventilated space for this, okay? I don't want you to make yourself dizzy from the fumes. And that's another reason to close the pen when you're not using it, but it's like you have this small window of time to make the transfer because it evaporates that quickly. So you don't want to wait until your paper's totally dry to rub it on the back, because then you're going to run out of, it's not going to do it. It's always such a magical experience to take it off and go, whoa, look at that. Look at that, man. Now I'm going to do the back of him over here, maybe as if he's, or should it be up here, the back end of him? Almost like he's wrapping all the way around. That's kind of funny, isn't it? I kind of think so. All right, I'm going to do that. So, and if I wanted to, I could even like make the pattern of my solvent. You know, I could show, I don't have to transfer everything perfectly. I could show the, I don't know, the way I apply the solvent to the photocopy. You know, I could create a sense that it looks like it's a scribbled version of itself. I'll have to demonstrate that later, but okay, see that? Okay, so now voila. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, image right there. So I've got a lot to work with as I start to make this into more of an image. Last thing I want to show you today in terms of transfers. So with these transfers, these are black and white photocopies. So I went to, boy, I made these at the university because I have access to a photocopy machine. But you can go to FedEx Office, you know, or even to Office Depot, I believe, and you can have them make copies for you. Of course, you'll have to abide by the copyright laws, you know, and rules of, you know, what you can use and what you can't. But I just want to show you, I'm not sure if this imagery is copyright free, but I'm going to show it to you because, actually it is. I'm going to show it to you because I want to show you that a color copy that is from a laser printer, one that uses toner, okay, can also be used to transfer, okay? So I have this image here, and what I'm going to do is tear it out because I think it's more interesting in a different kind of shape, and I'm going to transfer it. Now the colors transfer differently. Like some of the color will transfer and some of it will not, but you'll find if you do this often enough is that you can predict that these really muted and interesting colors are what you get, even if you can't see the images clearly. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's another way to get a mark and some color down. You do have to use quite a lot of pressure. I'm just going to do it in thirds here. Ah! But again, these are lower layers, and you know, ultimately what you want in a image that's like a collage drawing is that you do want to see, I want to see from you some marks of the hand, and I want to see crossover. Right now, so far I've done no crossover. I'm just putting down the lower layer. I'm going to cross over eventually, but it's going to take me a while, so I'm just showing you this process, and then I'll show you in subsequent episodes of this video how you can actually layer things, whether it's collage materials that are transparent or layers of drawing or painting or other layers. So see, it's super light. It's super light. So and that's fine. I kind of dig that. So there's this segment here. It's hard to see, but there's a little man coming out of a a coffin there, and I want to use part of another image over here, and I'm thinking to kind of offset that, or maybe I'll use, I've got a tree over here that could be very nice, and some more blue. Kind of help balance that guy. Okay, so this will be the last one. So you want to almost feel like you're sticking the paper. You're pushing so hard. So I think this is going to be pretty light. Oh, but that's lovely. And it ends up, the shape that you get out of that is just, I find it so fascinating. Let's do one more with some color, because I'd like, and maybe a shape to it also. I don't necessarily want it to be a square, but I like the idea of having one more down here. Oh, I moved it. Darn it. So if I was at the university and I had a printing press, this would be a lot easier because I would run it through the press with pressure, and it would, the pressure would be there for me. Although when I did it at the university, I also sometimes used wintergreen oil, which is a liniment, and it evaporates pretty slowly, and it's a little easier, a little less toxic than lacquer thinner, which is another thing you can use, but it's very toxic, and I don't want any of you to use that if you don't have the proper protective equipment. Okay. See, I'm burnishing it so hard that the toner actually is like sticking to the paper. Ugh. Oh my God, I can barely even peel it off. Ooh, that is lovely. Okay. Okay, so I've got these three little like continents, you know, drifting apart with this wolf in the middle, and I'm sure that I will collage more over the top. And so once you start getting your layers, then you can start to do things like I did in this demonstration that I did earlier today. So if you look at this demonstration, you can see that I did photocopy transfer color over here. This part with the rabbits and the doll was from a copyright-free book of animal illustrations. There's that wolf again. And then over here, I actually did a color copy transfer, but I turned it over so I couldn't see it, and then I randomly cut out the shape of this bunny. And then I transferred the color right there, and then I took the actual image, the photocopy that I transferred from, waited till it dried, and then I collaged it into the piece. So you can see now I'm starting to get layers. So this bunny is layering over the wolf. And then I've got text in here. And so you may see the text and say, how did you do that? Well, I did that with the pen too. But if you are going to use text, if you want it to be the right way, you have to reverse it. So whether you do it on your computer or take it over to FedEx and ask them to reverse it, or print it out yourself from your computer on a sheet of something transparent like transparent acetate, a transparency sheet, and then turn it over and copy it. The text has to be reversed if you want it to be reading the right way around. And if you use text in these assignments, you must consider it as a visual element, part of the piece, okay? So, you know, you need to balance with the text. And text is visually very powerful because people's eye, you know, a person's eye is drawn to text, and they will want to read it. So it's often much better to give them some of what you want to say and not all of it, unless you want it to seem like an advertisement or something. You know, text in work can be functional, but you have to be smart about it. It's better to hide the messages so that people can find them, in a sense. I think people tend to enjoy discovering things, text in people's work, that they don't see at first. This little drawing of a bird I did on tracing paper and collaged it. And then I also collaged on this piece of embroidery that was on this sheer fabric that I just glued down. And then these teacups are all stamps. I have like a ton of little stamps that I use. I go to the Michael's and craft stores, and whenever I see an interesting kind of stamp, I'll pick it up. But it's important to be highly selective, because if you don't, you know, you can end up with an image that looks very cliche, or campy, or cliche. Cliche is the best word, because you don't want it to look like a Hallmark greeting card collage. You want to use collage in a way that challenges people's ideas, and maybe think about what I said about appropriation. If you're appropriating an image from a place, from say popular culture, and you juxtapose that image with some other image, you know, that's like putting things in a different context to generate a new meaning. Does that make sense? Putting two things together that don't belong together will make the viewer say, what in the world was that artist trying to say by putting this popular culture reference, like Laura Palmer, back here, with this skeleton? Okay, so what am I talking about? You know, am I talking about, well, maybe those aren't too different enough, actually, because of Laura Palmer's character's demise, obviously. But anyway, so there are also interesting papers and things that you can find at these craft stores, and then, you know, you can use those as collage elements as well. So I'm not even done with this yet. I'm gonna do some more layering and build it up. But these are all good starts. And again, I can paint and draw and anything over the top of this, and it will not budge if you're using water-soluble media, or acrylic or water-soluble media, okay? So your assignment is to make one of these and have it ready by next week. And I will put that on canvas, and you'll be ready to go. Have fun with this. Remember to let the layers cross over. Remember, I haven't crossed over yet, except here a tiny little bit. But I need lots of crossover. I need lots more crossover than this. You don't want them to be separate islands. You want them to interact. Okay? So that's all I have for today. I am going to see you guys next week. We are not meeting this Wednesday, but we are meeting next Wednesday. We're going to start meeting on Wednesdays again, since we had our big project. But I will be communicating with you through these little demonstrations, and I will expect you to watch them and to respond to the assignments, and we'll catch up next week. Okay? Thanks, guys. I am over and out. I guess. I don't know. How do I end a recording? I'm going to stop my recording.